never been introduced to the idea, and I had no reason to believe in it. And then I went to college in Portland, Oregon, because I wanted to get as far away from home as possible. And if you don't, you've probably never heard of Reed College, unless I have mentioned it. And it's been described before as the most godless campus in America. And it might not be the most godless, but it's pretty close. And I was there taking a class that every freshman has to take called Humanities 110. And it's just like this Englishy history course where we learn about ancient Greece and ancient Rome. And during the course, you have to read the Bible as a kind of historical document and read it for like the reflection of the culture and the laws of this time period. And we started with Genesis. We kind of skipped around. We spent a little time in Job, and then we moved to the New Testament. We read Mark, and we got to. There was a lecture part where everyone was there, and then the seminar part where there were 15 people. So I was in my seminar, and there were like 15 of us, and this one girl just kind of looks around and was like, okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb, but I always thought Jesus was like a whiny emo kid. And everyone starts talking about how they thought Jesus was annoying when they were reading it. And I was the only person sitting there going like, really? Did we read the same book? Because I thought it was cool. And I thought that he was like up there with like Gandhi and Martin Luther King and all these figures that all the people I was with adore and respect, but for some reason Jesus never got to be part of that club. And everything just started sounding false. Like at Reed, people value free love and casual sex, and they say it's because that's how we're programmed and it's a base instinct and we shouldn't have to repress it. But then they look at people that are religious and say that they're giving in to these basic, immature instincts of needing comfort. And it's like, okay, you value the one because it's basic and you shouldn't repress it, and then you vilify the other for being basic and you shouldn't indulge it, and it just made no sense to me. And so that was about when I started to just open my mind to the possibility I was wrong. Oh my goodness, that was a new one for me. And I wasn't happy at Reed, so I transferred to OSU, came back home, I was far away from there as I possibly could. And I just kind of spent a year not really thinking about what I believed, but also being open-minded about it all. And I kind of thought of myself as a Christian, and I totally believed in Christian teachings. Like they seemed like the right thing to do, and when you do them, you just felt like a better person, and it was awesome. So I just kind of started doing that, and then I was thinking, maybe I should find a church group, because that's part of an important bit of that. And then I had this campus job, and I lived in Jones Tower on North Campus, and I parked on South Campus. And I was walking back to my dorm one night, and who do I run into but Ed? And we got to talking, and he tried to talk to me about the importance of, justice or something, and he hypothetically killed my sister. Which is this long hypothetical story, and it ended with, what if I hypothetically kill your sister and then go to Mexico and cure cancer? Should I still be tried for your sister's murder or not? And the one-liner is much funnier than the actual story. But it just, I thought he was funny, I thought he was cool, and he invited me to church the next day. I went, which for me is a huge deal. I do not like walking into a huge group of people that all know each other that I don't know, and then you're just spotlighted as a new weird kid. I don't do that, ever. And for some reason I decided to go. And I get there, and there's this group from Alabama, and no one knows whether I'm everyone always goes to Cane's afterwards. And I sat and talked with Anna and Alicia and a bunch of other people, but I don't remember who. And everyone was just so incredible. And I was talking to Anna about this the other day, but it was like, everybody was just kind of shiny in this weird way. Not only were they all like, they smiled and they were so nice, but it went beyond just being nice. They were all just like awesome people. And it just kind of started this line of coincidences where, because my biggest issue at that point was whether or not the guy in the sky was real. Because I believed in the teachings, and you know, I would dance, but I didn't really think about it. And so I just kind of gave it a chance. So I was like, well, if all these people believe it, there's got to be something there. I'll try it. And I don't know when it happened, but you just start to feel that it's real. And that was the weirdest thing for me, because I always looked for the logic of religion. I wanted to have a written reason why I should believe these things, and there isn't one. Except that it all works so perfectly, and it's so improbable that it would work, but it does. And the only way I can explain that is that there is a higher power, and that all of these things are part of a plan, and I have been forgiven, and all these things. And I never understood that there was a logic outside of what could be read in books. I just started to feel the presence of God in me, and that in itself was an evidence that you don't feel until you start to believe. And that's why it's so hard to tell non-believers that it's real, because it's like, I know it, but I can't like give you a picture, because it's something you just have to feel. And then my life just, I didn't like move to a different country. I didn't suddenly start dressing completely differently. I'm still really materialistic on that one. But I just had this kind of lens, like a literary lens. I'm an English major, sorry. And you can look at books with like a certain idea of how you want to read it. And for me, my entire life was just kind of put through a Jesus lens. And I just started to see things in terms of right and wrong, in terms of what we should be doing and what we aren't, and like seeing the difference between society and what is truly important and all these things. It just worked. And now when I get off of 315, instead of seeing a homeless person and being like, oh, that sucks, and then moving on, I like feel absolutely heartbroken. And it's just so overwhelming sometimes. And that doesn't come from just me. There's just so much there that it can't possibly be only me. And it just, instead of feeling completely lost and alone, and like the only things that matter in life are money and whether or not something is fun, I value in just helping people and being a good person in a way that never was for me before. And the only reason I have that is because I have Jesus.
you all to continue to life.
Just mute it and be loud.
Say that again.
Just be loud.
Just be loud, okay? I will
Use
do
the
it.
other microphone.
I'm gonna turn it off, and I'm just gonna be loud. Maybe y'all just listen real good, okay? First off, I love baptism today because Jesus gets to be the centerpiece of what we do. And back there, what you guys don't know is that, kind of a few people got to pray with Ryan and Jillian. And I asked the question, so what are you most excited about? And Ryan said, I got to tell the story of what Jesus did. I got to tell that story. And Jillian, I said, what are you most excited about? She goes, I get Jesus. There's something very beautiful about watching the whole thing happen and knowing that you can't talk people into it. There's nothing I can say. You can't even hug someone hard enough to tell them you love them. Like, it's impossible to do that. But God does something really amazing when He opens the eyes of people who just want to see. Let me tell you something. If you're here, and you've been like the Jonah, the person who has been a religious person, and you're a good person maybe, and maybe you've made a lot of great choices, but you know in your heart you have not walked with God, you have walked for your own ways. Simply turn your life to God. If that's something you're ready to, you just do that. You say, God, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I believe in your Son. I believe in what He did. I know He rose from the dead. I get it. God, please forgive me. I want to give my life to you. It's like you're going this direction and you say, okay, I'm going to turn and go this direction now toward you. And you may not know what all that means. You may think, oh, I got to fix myself. Literally, trust me. You simply turn back to Him. He'll do the rest. He's really good at this, okay? Those things they're talking about, I'm starting to feel differently. I have things I can't explain. God does that. You don't have to come up with that yourself. You simply turn to Him and say, all right, God, I'm going to turn my life to you. If you're like the people from Nineveh and you've been far from God, don't you know that God went way out of His way to save a city, Nineveh? What do you think He's willing to do for you? Do you think He's willing to send His own Son to die on a cross to get your attention? Because that's what He did. And if you find yourself far from God, let me tell you what you do. If you feel it inside, you know it. You simply say, all right, God, I'm sorry. I've been going my way, and I need you, Jesus. Please forgive me. I believe in what you did on the cross. I believe you rose from the dead. I want to give my life to you. It's the same. We all need Jesus. We need to walk away from our worthless idols and accept the grace that God has for us. So let me just ask you maybe to stand. We're going to pray together. We're going to sing a couple songs. But before we do that, I just want to talk to you just for a second about what it's like to talk to God. So go ahead and stand with me.